For some guitarists, modes may feel like a music theory mountain to climb. And for others, there may be a set of scales and shapes they have in the guitar toolkit, but they're not really sure how to use them. Well, whether you don't know your modes, or if you know them but you're not really sure what to do with them, this is the lesson for you. Because today I'm going to be demystifying modes. To begin with, I'm going to use a very simple chord progression, one you'll find in thousands of songs. C, A minor, F, and G. And I'm going to solo over these chords using only the C major scale. Let's hear what that sounds like. Fairly basic, right? I played 4 very simple chords and I improvised over it using only the C major scale. But though I only used the C major scale, I also used the C Ionian mode, the A Aeolian mode, the F Lydian mode, and the G Mixolydian mode. But how's that possible? How can I only use the C major scale but also use 4 different modes? Well, this will all become clear. The first thing we need to do is analyze the C major scale. If I take the first note, C, I skip the second note and play the third note, E, I skip the fourth note and play the fifth note, G, skip the sixth note and play the seventh note, B, if I play them all at the same time, I get a lovely C major 7. And this process of skipping notes and playing every other note is called stacking thirds. And I can do this starting from every note of the scale. So if I do the same process, but this time start on the second note, the D, it'll go like this. D, skip a note, F, skip a note, A, skip a note, C. And if I play those 4 notes together, I get D minor 7. And if I do this process for all 7 notes of the scale, I get 7 different chords. Chord number 1, C major 7. Chord number 2, D minor 7. Chord number 3, E minor 7. Chord number 4, F major 7. Chord number 5, G 7. Chord number 6, A minor 7. And chord number 7, B half diminished. Now, these are the 7 chords of the key of C major. Now let's look at that stacking thirds again. If we stack them and do it again, starting from C, play C, skip a note, play the E, skip a note, play the G. If I stop there, I get a basic C chord. So if you just stack the first 3 notes, you get the basic chord, the basic major or minor. And of all of those chords I showed you before, 4 chords in their basic form that are in that 7 are C, A minor, F, and G. The 4 chords I did the example with earlier. So when I saw those chords, I thought C major. This is C major, because I knew that all of those chords are in the key of C major. And because they're in the key of C major, and they're essentially made of the C major scale, I know that the C major scale is going to work over all of them. But what's this got to do with modes, I hear you ask? If I play the C major scale over the first chord in C major, the C major 7, I'm playing the C major scale, but I'm also playing the C Ionian mode. If I play it over the second chord, the D minor 7, I'm playing the C major scale, but I'm also playing the D Dorian mode. If I play it over the third chord, the E minor 7, I'm also playing the Phrygian mode. Over the fourth chord, the F major 7, I'm also playing the F Lydian mode. Over the fifth chord, G7, I'm also playing G Mixolydian. over the 6th chord A minor 7. I'm also playing the A Aeolian mode, and finally the B Locrian mode over that last chord, the B half diminished. I'm playing 7 modes, but actually I'm just playing the C major scale. I had a teacher at university who said, Jesse, you can't think that way because, you know, if I'm playing a D minor 7, for example, you have to think D Dorian. You can't think C major, because if you think C major, then you're going to play licks that you would play over a C major chord, but they're not going to work over the D minor 7 chord. And this was a problem for him, you know. So his solution was you had to learn all of the patterns of the C major scale again, but going from D to D, because it was D Dorian, and you had to learn them all as new shapes. So you had to learn 5 new shapes for D Dorian, 5 new shapes for E Phrygian, 5 new shapes for F Lydian, 5 new shapes for G mixed Lydian, 5 new for A Aeolian and B Locrian. And also the 5 you have for the C major scale, or the C Ionian mode, that first one. In total, that's 35 shapes that he wanted completely new in his head, but he was just playing the same scale. He was just playing C major. So maybe, just maybe, there's a better solution for this so-called problem that he found, and I think I have it for you today. C major is C major. You just like learn the 5 patterns, you know, of the cage system. Learn those 5 patterns and that's enough. If you're playing over the D minor 7 and you use the C major scale, it's going to sound like Dorian because it is the Dorian mode as well. The important thing is to make it sound good. And to do that, you need to focus on chord tones. And we know the chord tones of D minor 7, don't we? Because we got them before when we were stacking thirds. We went D, miss a note, F, miss a note, A, miss a note, C. And they were the 4 notes that make up the D minor 7 chord. So we know 4 notes that are going to sound great if we target them when we're creating our phrases over the top of D minor 7 using the C major scale. But what about the other notes in between? Let's have a look now at what all of these notes sound like over that D minor 7 chord. I'll play a loop of a D minor chord. And let's take each of the notes of C major and see what they sound like. D. That's the root of the D minor chord, so it sounds strong, right? I'm always going to be playing the C major scale. Let's do the second note, E. That's the 9th. Also sounds nice. Next chord, the F. That's the minor 3rd. That sounds strong. Next note is the G. That's the 11th. It's the 4th note, but it also gets called the 11th. Let's do the next one, the A. Very strong, that's the 5th. Let's go again. Next one, B. That's nice. That's the 6. Finally, there's the C. And that's that minor 7th note. As you can hear, you can use every single note of the C major scale as a target note in any phrase that you're creating over the D minor chord. The only thing is that some of them are going to sound strong, some of them are going to sound a little bit more mysterious. You know, you've got your 1, your minor 3rd and your 5, they're all very strong notes. Your minor 7th is also a strong note, and also the 9th. That 11 is a bit more, you know, is maybe not such a strong note, but I mean, this is the minor 11 chord. It's a chord. If you add that 11th in there, it's really accenting that 11th chord. You know, it really depends what you want, what your ears want. Maybe you're in a point of the melody where you want something strong and you're going to focus on those ones, the minor 3 and the 5. Maybe you want something a bit out there and you try that 11 or the 9, you know. It really depends what your ears want. Let's try the same exercise with an F major 7. Now let's do the same exercise starting on an F note. Well, that's a strong sound. We're just playing the root F over an F chord. Let's go to the next note, a G. That's nice. That's the 9. Not as strong as the root, but still very nice, very beautiful. Let's go to the next one, A. That's the 3rd, the major 3rd. That sounds great. Remember all of these licks? I'm still playing the C major scale. Now let's move to the next one, the B. Ooh, I think this is my favorite. That's the sharp 11. If you want something more mysterious, that's a beautiful one. Let's move to the next note, the C. Very strong, that's the 5th. What's the next note? D. Beautiful, that's the 6th. And the next note is an E. That's the major 7. And then we're back to the F. Now I recommend you do this for each of the 7 chords we've learned in the key of C. Go through each of the notes of the C major scale and see how they sound and feel over each of those chords. That way you're going to deeply understand the way the C major scale relates to those chords, and thus understand the way the modes relate to the chords. Way more so than if you just memorize a bunch of shapes. Okay, so we've learnt we can actually play any of these notes in the C major scale when we're creating phrases to play over any of these chords that are in the key of C major. We just have to decide what our ears want. Now let's look at the chords again, because this order we had of a major 7, a minor 7, a minor 7, then a major 7, then the dominant 7, then a minor 7, and then the half diminished. This order is the same in any major key. It always has this order. And there's 3 minor 7s and there's 2 major 7s. So in the key of C, for example, we had the A minor 7. And in the key of C, that was the 6th chord. But the 2nd chord and 3rd chord were also minor 7s. So this A minor 7 is the 6th chord in C, but it can also be the 2 chord in a key and the 3 chord. Well, it's the 6th chord in C, it's the 2 chord in G, and it's the 3 chord in F. Okay? And another chord in the key of C was F. That was a 4 chord. Well, that's obviously in the key of F. So if we have a progression that just goes A minor to F, it doesn't necessarily have to be the key of C. It can also be the key of F. Okay? And that's what I want to look at now. We can see a chord progression, and there's not necessarily just one answer of what key it can be in. So let's look at these 2 chords. I'm going to play a progression now just using A minor and F, and let's see what we can do. To begin with, I'm going to treat these 2 chords as if they're in the key of F, and I'm going to play the F major scale over them. think they're in the key of C. Can you hear the difference? Is this B? The key of C has this B natural. The key of F has the B flat. Now, you know, if you're thinking modally, that F, the A minor 7, is Phrygian and the F is Ionian. If you're thinking modally with the other one, the C major scale, the A minor 7 is Aeolian and the F is F Lydian. The difference between these two keys is the B or the B flat. Now imagine this, imagine we're going from those two chords and we're going to go into a G chord. The G chord has a B natural. So if you're thinking F in those previous two chords, you have to adjust when you go to the G, because you know that if you're hitting a B flat when it comes to the G, it's not going to sound right because that's a minor third and it needs the B natural, it needs the major third. So you have to adjust. If you're playing in the key of C with those other two chords, the B natural's in there, so if you hit that B natural, it's going to sound great. But if you're in the key of C and you hit an F note, you know that if they're just playing a straight up G chord, that F note's going to turn it into a G7. So these kind of things are very important to understand because the notes you choose are completely changing the harmony. Now, let's think about this. Let's imagine changing to that G. Because if we're on F, and let's say I'm hitting these two notes, for example, this B flat and this F, and I'm giving like a suspended fourth kind of sound, right? It wants to resolve, and then I go up to the G. I know that if I think of the G as the key of G, that also has an F sharp in it. So I can take the F up one and I can take the B flat up one and get something like this. And it could sound beautiful, but that's if my head's thinking G major. If it's thinking C, it won't have the F sharp, it would have the F natural, and then you get the dominant 7. So whatever I'm thinking is changing the harmony of the music, and that's important to understand. Another thing I could have done just now, I'm playing in F, it's got this F, it's got this B flat and it's got an F natural, okay? I could have gone, when I changed to the G chord, I could say that's a 4 chord in the key of D, okay? And what's that got? That's got a C sharp as well. Now let's see what happens if I play if I go like I did before. I'm going from this suspended sound with this B flat, and then I go up here like this. Ooh, that's even more mysterious, and I've changed a whole nother level of harmony by deciding that I'm going to the key of D when I play this G chord. Now I've got that note, that sharp 11 we heard before. Very cool. This is really the crux of what I'm getting at today. When you're thinking modes, it doesn't matter if you're thinking about the names of the modes or if you take my approach, which is to think more about what key you're playing and think about changing keys and chord tones, right? What you're doing is you're changing harmony. Your melody is changing the harmony of the music. And that's what we have to think about now. If we want to become advanced guitarists, we want to think about melody and harmony and how they relate to each other. And if we think about key, if we think about our actions as a melodic player and how they affect harmony, we are going to advance to an advanced level of guitarist. Because if we just hang on this idea that we're just running shapes over chords, we're going to stay intermediate forever. And we want to get beyond that, right? If you want to get beyond that, start thinking this way. Start thinking about keys. Start thinking about the difference between keys. Start thinking about chords and what the chord tones are, you know? And when we're thinking this way, we're going to naturally play modally anyway. Because like I showed you before, just by thinking about what key you're in and playing the major scale, you end up playing modes. And then you get to understand and you start to feel what these keys sound like over different chords. So this is what I wanted to get across to you today. I wanted to simplify this idea of modes, make you understand that we're really thinking about what key we're playing in and choosing the right keys, understanding we're able to change keys as a melody player. If those chords we're playing over are just straight up minors and majors, we can turn them into minor sevens, turn them into dominant sevens, into major sevens by the notes that we choose to play. Listen, I hope this has helped you understand modes better and not confused you even more. Thank you so much for watching this lesson. I will throw in 5 shapes of the C major scale as a download. Not like my teacher, you don't need 35 shapes of modes, you just need the 5 shapes of the major scale and you can figure out the modes with those. You can get that from my Buy Me a Coffee page. I'll put a link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Normally at this point I throw up another video. Let's do it. I did a video recently on how to jazz up your blues playing. I'll throw that one over there. I like that bit. I'll put that over there. Thanks a lot for watching. Please subscribe, like, put comments in. It really helps me a lot and I really love it. Cheers. See you in the next video.